it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 87. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you're new to the show, thank you for tuning in for the first or second time. We got a bunch of new listeners over the last couple weeks or so that's great. Make sure to keep telling your friends about the show. That's how we grow Under the Crossbones. Episode number 87, fun fact about the number 87. In Australian cricket, right? Now keep in mind, I know nothing about cricket. In Australian cricket, 87 is a superstitiously unlucky score, and it's referred to as the devil's number. Pretty cool. And it originates from the idea that 87 is 13 runs short of a century, which is what they call 100 runs, apparently. So 87 is an unlucky score, as is 187, 287, anything with 87 in it, apparently. But 87 is like the king bad score, apparently. And since this is a thing, some people suffer from octocantaheptophobia, which is a fear of the number 87. I'm going to say it again because it's fun. Octocantaheptophobia, which also sounds like there's a disease of some sort in there. But anyway, fear of 87. Who knew that was a thing? So 87 is the devil's number. In music, we have an interval called the devil's interval, which is a tritone. And a tritone is a flatted fifth. If you don't know anything about music, that means nothing to you. But think of the beginning of Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. Bow, 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 bow. That is a tritone right there, and we call that the devil's interval. So now I feel like I should write a piece of music that's 87 measures long and based primarily around tritones. And I'll just call it the devil's music. Sounds like fun. Anyway, I want to thank Dan Stevens from Parada Clothing for sending me that tip about the number 87. He sent that to me this week because he thought of it and thought it would be cool. And I agree. If there's an episode number coming up that you know something cool about that number, send it on over. I'll use it. That saves me a few minutes of digging something up. My guest on the show today is Mike Kelly of Old New Orleans Rum. Yep, we're talking rum again today. It's going to be fun. Now, I will be, and of course, you can find Old New Orleans Rum at oldneworleansrum.com. Easy enough. Seems logical, yeah? So, I want to be honest with you on this today. I don't think this is my best interview. Not through any fault of Mike Kelly. I think I was having an off day somewhere. I don't think I came up with the best questions I could have. I don't think I was as engaged as I could have been. I don't know what it was. This was recorded in February, and I don't know. I must have been having an off day of some sort. So now you may listen to it and go, nope, it's your same crappy interview as usual. But I don't know. Something is weird about this one. I was sitting in an airport on Saturday editing this episode, and I was listening to it, and I just wasn't, I thought I was off. I thought I was off my game for this interview. But I want to give it to you anyway, because Mike is entertaining. Mike's got some good stories. There's lots of good stuff in here, but the stuff that's good is going to be all Mike. It's not going to be me, unfortunately. So anyway, I just want to put that out there. And if you listen to it and you think it's good, I'm happy about that. But anyway, and I know Mike's a busy guy, so we didn't really have time to redo the interview, and I didn't want to make him go through that anyway, since it was my fault. So, back from the tour, as I said, I was sitting in an airport on Saturday to come home, which was nice. I was out on the road for 10 days. Good gigs for the most part. Just kind of work a day, getting the audiences going, all good. Met some cousins of mine in North Dakota who I had not met before, so that was fun. One weird thing happened. I was playing, I don't even remember which gig it was at this point. I want to say it was maybe somewhere in Indiana. And this guy comes up to me after the show, and he goes, "Man, you're so jokes. You're totally jokes, man. You are so jokes." And I was like, at first I didn't understand what he was saying, and it was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." But that's not a thing people say. Like, a jokes isn't an adjective. It was very strange. I'd never heard that before. I'd never been heard myself described as jokes. Because at first I thought he was saying, "You're a joke," which would be a weird compliment for a comedian, because we'd go, yeah, kind of. But then he was saying, "You are jokes." And it was the weirdest compliment I think I've ever received after a gig. Not the least bit passive aggressive in any way. He was very complimentary. He was very sincere about it. But apparently I am jokes, which sounds like I should be a movie title. I am jokes. weird. It was very strange. But anyway, all the shows were good. I'm back home doing stuff in California this week. The next couple weeks, I will be Tuesday, April the 18th. Tonight, if you're listening to the show on release day, I will be at the Layover in Oakland, California. Friday, April the 21st, I will be at Laughs Unlimited in Sacramento, California. That is a satellite round for the World Series of Comedy, which I don't usually do, but I'm going to go do one this year for fun so I can see my friends. And if you want to come out to that, I have a guest list. Just hit me up, Phil, at underthecrossbones.com. I've got a small guest list, and if that's full, then I've got some other ways that you can get some discount tickets and stuff for Friday, April the 21st, Laughs Unlimited at Sacramento, California. Wednesday, April the 26th, I will be at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco, California. I also have some guest list available for that one if you'd like to come. Again, just hit me up, Phil, at underthecrossbones.com, and I'll get you in. Saturday, April the 29th, I will be at the Tasting Room in Fresno, California. I don't have a guest list for that one. You're going to have to pay to come in and see me for that one. So the first three of those shows, all pretty short sets. And then the one on the 29th in Fresno at the Tasting Room, that'll be a full hour-long show. And then I've got other things coming up. I'll be headlining Pachanka Casino in Southern California in May and a bunch of other things. St. Louis, I know, is coming up. So lots of stuff. If you want to find all my tour dates, go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, and it'll be right there for your eyeballs to devour. That was a sentence that I was making up in my brain literally split seconds before it came out of my mouth. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope you are, please join us over on our Facebook group, facebook.com/underthecrossbones. If you're on Twitter, like I am, it's twitter.com/undercrossbones. No the in that. And of course, you can get all the show notes for this show at underthecrossbones.com/087. If you're enjoying the show and you would like to help support us and keep us going, because this show does cost money and lots of time to make, you can do that at the support page, underthecrossbones.com/support. Click on the, there's a PayPal box there. You can just donate whatever amount of money you feel is appropriate. If you want to not donate money and you just want to buy things for yourself, you can do that too by clicking the Amazon banner on the support page. What they do, when you click that Amazon banner, you go buy yourself something nice. Maybe Helen Hollick's book that we talked about last week, or maybe buy some rum. I don't know if you can buy rum on Amazon. I don't know. Buy yourself something on Amazon, and Amazon kicks me back a few pennies, and it helps the show quite a bit. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, that is also very easy and cheap to do. Hit me up from the support page, and we will make that happen. Okie dokie. Are you ready? We're going to get into my interview with Mike Kelly from Old New Orleans Rum. Check it out. February, busy time in New Orleans. What's happening out there?
Yeah, well, of course, it's carnival time. It's Mardi Gras, so we're coming into our peak season, which is basically, it's just not carnival. It's kind of from January till June. There's beyond Mardi Gras, there's a festival every weekend.
Oh, sure, yeah. So that must keep you guys real busy.
It's just one thing rolls into another. It's like, Shrimp Fest and Jazz Fest and Crawfish Fest and Oyster Fest, you name it. There's every festival.
There's always a reason for a party. So now you are the head distiller for New Orleans Rum, right?
Correct, I am.
Great, fantastic, good. I want to find out all about that. See, I am not a drinker of any sort, rum or anything else, and so I have no idea what goes into any of this stuff. So tell me a little bit about what goes into the distillation process of rum. What are the ingredients? How is it done?
Sure. Well, let's back up a little bit for what is rum. And
sure.
So rum has to be made from sugar cane.
Okay.
So, and it could be any form of cane product. So you could technically make rum from white sugar.
Okay.
Some people do that. Traditionally and most commonly, it's made from molasses. From sugar cane. There are other types of molasses as well, such as beet or sorghum. That would technically be a rum.
Okay. What would that be then?
Well, it's changing now. There's so many craft distilleries opening because there are, I know of one. It's called the Colorado rum.
Okay.
And it's made in Colorado, and it's made from sugar beets, I believe.
Huh, interesting.
But because it's called Colorado rum, they get by with it. But there are other distilleries in Colorado making rum from sugarcane molasses.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's always been made from sugarcane. Which is, so molasses is a byproduct, of the refining sugar.
Okay.
They extract as much they can out of the cane juice as feasibly possible, or I should say economically possible.
Sure.
But there's still a good amount of sugar left into it, so you get this this black sugary goop, which in the early days they dumped. They dumped it in the ocean. They threw it away, and then someone discovered, hey, this will ferment, and you can make a drink from it.
I imagine, yeah, because they figured that out with lots of things by accident, beer and all sorts of stuff.
Sure. So we ourselves, most rum is typically made from a blackstrap molasses, so that would be like kind of the end of the line before it goes to like the feed mills and stuff like that. But we get a molasses that was we contracted with the company and invested in the sugar plant itself to get a B-cut molasses, which is taken off a lot earlier in the line. So it's a lot sweeter, has a lot more sugar in it.
Okay.
It's not as burnt tasting, and it's also super thick, really heavy. Sometimes it's we can't pump it; we have to shovel it because it's.
Oh my gosh!
It will start crystallizing, and it's a huge mess.
So then, do you end up using less of it in the rum, or does it just physically make the rum thicker?
No, well, that's one of the challenges of distilling, because you've got a natural product it's fairly consistent, but it's going to change. Like towards the bottom of the tank, it's going to. A lot of the crystallized sugars, if it did crystallize, is going to settle out, and so that those ferments may go a little bit higher, or will add a little less to compensate. Okay, compensate for that.
Interesting.
And just from season to season, the sugar cane changes.
Sure.
Depending on how long it sits around, makes a difference as well. Because all molasses, that we buy, industrial side and the commercial side, it's full of bacteria.
Oh, okay.
Which isn't all bad. It's just got to be controlled. So you've got to steer that. Otherwise you can make vinegar, or some other stuff that doesn't taste so great. Which we've done that too. So we start with that molasses, and we take that, pump it over into a separate dosing tank. So we're going to take 400 gallons of molasses, and we're going to mix it with 1,400 gallons of water, and put about a pound of yeast in it, and we're going to make a nice, happy environment for that yeast to grow.
Right.
So the first initial stages, you don't make alcohol; you just make yeast, and that yeast colony will just, to give you an example, we put in 1 pound of yeast, we probably pull out, or let's go volume wise. I put in 1 pound of yeast is maybe like 3 cups.
Okay.
Right, 500 grams. We probably pull out like 50 gallons.
Oh my gosh!
Of solid product.
Wow.
It multiplies quite a bit. But then after about 12 hours, you start making alcohol, and that it's a really fast ferment. And within 24 hours, it's pretty much done. And we give a rest period overnight, and that settles out, and we're going to get it's called a wash when it's finished, and we'll get like a 10% wash.
Okay.
It's basically a sugar wine, and that's what we're going to distill.
Okay. So
the important thing about making your spirit is made in the ferment. Okay. That's where it's going to develop. That's how any flavors. Now there are flavors that do develop after, but your main, like if your ferment isn't good, your spirit's not going to be good. Sure. I mean, there's no amount of distilling that's going to make it taste great. You can remove the flavor, just run it up as high as you can and distill it a bunch of times, and it's just pure ethanol. Then you can run your car on it. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Or use it as cleaner or anything else. Right. But so your spirit's made in the ferment, so it's really important to keep careful watch over the ferments, the perfect temperature, monitor the pH, to give it that optimum environment. So when you're adding doing flavored rum, spice rum, or any of the other type of options that you have there, are you adding it during that segment, or does that come later? That comes later. Now, okay. I've yes and no. So you can make ferments and produce desirable flavors, and they're called esters. Okay. So you can create esters in the ferment. Like, for example, you can get a lot of pineapple, banana flavors out of a ferment, which if you taste it, it's like, this tastes like bananas. And you like swear, like, no, there's nothing added to it. It's just the ferment itself. And that's where the bacteria comes in when it says, it's not all bad. The really the acidic environment that the bacteria create. So when they combine with alcohol, they make esters. And we're doing a lot of experimenting with that. So like halfway through the ferment, we'll add some bacteria to it, and the yeast along with the bacteria will grow together and create some really interesting flavors.
Interesting.
Mostly, pineapple, like I said, pineapple, banana, strawberry, some really apricot, really nice fruity flavors. That's where you get like a lot of your Jamaican, the funky rums. They're made with dunder pits. Which is a dunder pit's basically a big pool of, bacteria that they add into the ferment.
Oh, okay.
Which by itself is quite nasty. But it does create some wonderful flavors.
Interesting. And then, so what's the final part of the process there?
So after the wash, after we get our ferment going, we'll put it into the pot still. A couple of ways to distill stuff. We use pot stills. Pot stills are traditionally made for making rum. They don't run real high. They're not as efficient as column stills, but they make a product that's full of flavor. Mm-hmm. So we'll run that. We'll do our stripping run where we take that 1,800 gallons and we'll run it through the pot. It takes about 24 hours. And we'll end up with roughly 400 gallons of 40% alcohol. So that's our stripping run. Then we'll do that 3 times, and then we'll add it into another pot still. So we'll take that 40%, and we're going to run it up to like 75% on the second time around. So we're going to finish around 140, 150 proof. Okay. And from there we'll we'll proof it down with deionized water to whatever we're making.
Okay. And is there an aging process?
And there is. So from when we run it through the pot, we will not water it down. It will just go directly into the 140, 150 is a great proof for barreling. It's in like a nice little sweet spot, not too much water. You're not going to lose. If you're higher proof, you lose a lot of in your you lose a lot to evaporation. Okay. Especially in the tropics here. Sure. So yeah, we'll use like 2 to 5% a year. So like it's more like 5% the first year. It just evaporates out to the side of the barrel, and then every year after that, it's like 2 or 3% we'll lose. So over the course of 7 or 8 years, you're only looking at 30 or 40 gallons left in the barrel. Oh, okay. Coming from 53 gallons.
Okay, and how long are you generally aging for? I know there's a range there, but
yeah, as long as we can. But we keep on tapping into it. We're a small company. Katrina gave us a big hit because we lost a tremendous amount of product, barrel product, and just after Katrina, production ramped. I mean, we had sold everything we had. Oh wow! So we had a little bit of a barrel shortage for a while. But we're coming back from that.
Well, that's good. Is there a point where, how long would you age it before it went bad? When does it turn to vinegar?
It won't turn to vinegar in the barrel. Once it's that high, it won't turn to vinegar. Okay. It will only turn to vinegar if I think it's maybe up to 10%. Anything above that, it will kill the bacteria that makes the acetobacter that makes vinegar. But in the ferment, it's very possible to make vinegar instead of, or just get a really tart or sour wash. A bunch of other things can happen as well. There's a whole bunch of different other bacteria that can take control.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit about your background. How did you? What were you doing something else before this? Because I know the company goes back to about 1995, if I'm right?
Yes, correct.
So that makes it the oldest rum company in America, which doesn't seem that old.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There are older rum companies, but we're the oldest operating rum companies. So
Sure.
a lot of them closed. They were closed for a long time and then reopened. But
Okay.
After Prohibition, everything went overseas and they didn't really come back.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, tax-wise is a big thing. I don't know exactly the reason why, but I would say labor in the islands is much cheaper, and after Prohibition, they taxed the alcohol like crazy. So, and it's still that way. So, any spirit coming into the United States isn't taxed by the federal government.
Oh, really?
Anything made in the state is taxed.
Huh.
So
interesting.
Right out of the gate, we're paying more in taxes, just in taxes, than what it cost anyone overseas to make it.
Crazy.
So right now we pay $13.50 a proof gallon. So a proof gallon is 1 gallon of alcohol at 100 proof.
Oh, okay, I see.
So we're paying $13.50 for that.
Okay, interesting. So where do you grow up? How do you become a distiller?
So it's kind of who you know. It definitely helps. Yeah. And I guess there's a couple schools out there that are kind of popping up where you can go learn. A couple colleges have some classes now that I've heard that's offering distilling classes. But it's a matter of just meeting someone, getting in, and if you get the skills, you get the skills. So I met James, the owner. James Michaelopoulos is the owner, and he also has some artist studios. So I had a wood shop over there.
Oh, okay.
Because I was I still am a carpenter.
Okay.
So I was talking to James, and he kind of saw what I was doing in my shop, and he's like, you know how to do plumbing? I was like, yeah, sure. I've got a couple things over at the distillery, and I want to do this, connect to this still, do this pipe. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So that's how I started. I came in and started working on the equipment, and everything we have is built in-house. Okay. All our stills we made ourselves. Like even before me, we make everything ourselves. We do have our oldest still was built in the 30s. It's an old perfume still that's made in France. Originally designed to make perfume. It's a really fun still.
Interesting. But
all the pot stills and the fermenters and everything, that's all we did in-house.
Neat.
Yeah, so we're very crafty. So anyways, James saw what I was doing in there, and it just went on from there. I came in and started fixing everything. So I was also a mechanic in the past. I used to be a diesel mechanic. Okay. So I had a lot of those skills, and I was always great in science. That's kind of my strongest background. I made beer, since my early 20s. I've been making beer. Okay. So the fermentation wasn't anything new. I had a pretty strong concept of that. And for me, knowing the mechanical side of how the equipment works and having the strong comprehension of how fermentation works. Sure. It was kind of a natural for me. And so that just turned into the head distiller position. Been here for 7 years.
Nice. Now, when you were making beer, was that guy making beer in his garage type of thing?
Yeah, doing it at home.
A lot of those, was yours good? Because a lot of the ones that come out of like that are like, I see people pour them into the plants.
Well, what's funny is I did have one batch. Most of them was decent, but I did have one batch. It's like, oh, this is terrible. And I started dumping it out, like you said, watering the lawn. Yeah. But then I stopped, and I was like, well, maybe I'll wait a little bit. So this was after like 4 months after I had made it. Then I came back to it at 8 months. And it was better. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. So a year and a half later, it was really good. It improved with time. And that beer now, I think I made that 18 years ago. It's great. It tastes like a really nice Chimay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just needs extra time.
Yeah, right.
So when you went from beer, diesel mechanic, carpentry, all that kind of stuff, when you got into rum, was there somebody there kind of teaching you how to do it? Was there somebody before you that mentored a little bit? And what did you find difficult about that transition?
No, I didn't. James is helpful, but James isn't hands-on in production.
Okay.
James is an artist, so he's really okay. What can we create? It's like,
Right.
okay, here, let's create this, and then it's up to us to figure out how that works. Or okay, we've got a triple production. Okay, how do you do that? Okay, go ahead, do it. So yeah, there wasn't much help, which would have been nice as far as getting started. Didn't we have a in-house chemist, Peter. Peter was helpful to some extent, but yeah, I didn't have like a great teacher to show me all the ropes or anything.
Was there a steeper learning curve than you might have expected, or
not too much? Well, the big difference for me was there's a huge difference between doing a 5-gallon batch and a 1,800-gallon batch.
Sure, as any cook will let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, even going from 5 gallons to 50 gallons, it's a little bit different. Even though you do the exact same thing, just the measurements are different. It's going to be different.
Yeah.
Especially with recipes. So you come up with a great recipe. You scale it up. You've got to alter it some way.
Sure.
You scale it up again, it's going to change. So that has been the hardest part, I would say, is getting like the ginger roux. We make a ready-to-drink cocktail that's made with fresh ginger and dried ginger and our rum that's carbonated. So that keeping that consistent is probably one of the harder things, because your raw materials are going to change. You're not always going to get the same ginger plant that.
Yeah, with that kind of variability in the raw materials, is it mostly just sort of a taste test and alter kind of thing, or how do you? Yeah,
and so that was some of the skills like I really didn't know I had until I started doing it. It's like, well, I have somewhat of a palate here, so that was kind of new to me. Like, yeah, it needs a touch more of this, or so. Yeah, that was kind of been one of the bigger challenges.
Nice. I like that you seem like the kind of guy that says yes to things.
Yeah, I like challenges. I like to fix problems. I'm a problem solver, and which. A big part of this, there's just a lot of mechanical stuff here, and stuff just breaks just constantly. Sure. Anyone out there, if they've work in a plant or something like that, will know what I'm talking about. It's just it's amazing how much stuff just goes wrong, or day in and day out, there's something breaking or something happening. Or
I know it well. I'm a musician, so we go through the same thing. It's like, oh, that doesn't work today? Great.
Yeah. Little gremlins or something, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's always something weird in the room. That's cool though. So the company goes back to 1995. You've been there 7 years, and what's your line of rums look like? What kind of choices do you offer people?
So right now we have we start with our crystal rum, which is just going to be straight ferment, double pot stilled rum, nothing added to it whatsoever. And so from that crystal, some of it will barrel, which will eventually become an amber, which is then we have our amber rum. It's our aged rum blend. So I'm gonna take select different barrels as from batch to batch. We'll probably do like one batch a month or so. I'm making so that tried to keep consistent in the past, but it's just not going to work with the amount of barrels we have. If you're blending 1,000 or 2,000 barrels at a time, like some of the bigger distilleries, it's always going to taste the same. But if you're only picking from 3 or 4, it's going to be a little bit different every time. So my main goal there is to make the best rum I can with what I have at that time.
Sure.
So that's what So our amber, you'll see for the people that drink it regularly, it will change.
And I'm sure there's an attempt to turn a bug into a feature with something like that, where that becomes part of the appeal of the product, where it might be a little bit different each time.
Especially for me, like I've also been being a carpenter, which has been, this job is a great fit for me. It just uses all my skills. So I was really excited about getting into coopering. So now we do all our in-house coopering. I'll take some of the older barrels down, I'll take them apart, shave them out, recharm, which is great on the tours. People love to see that, and then refill them. So, I'm getting some really great rums in, 6 months.
That's not even a task that people think about anymore, that there is somebody that makes barrels. I think we would mostly assume they pop out of a factory somewhere, but you're actually sort of hand creating the barrels?
Well, we'll buy all bourbon and whiskey barrels.
Okay.
So they're used once. We get them. We'll use them once or twice, depending how long it's in there. But, at some point, you're not extracting much flavor out of the barrel. It's just like a vessel. So I'll go in, I'll take off the ends, the two ends of the barrel, and I'll take out like a 1/4 inch of wood to expose some fresh wood.
Okay.
And then I'll rechar it, set it on fire. That's always fun. I get to play with fire too. Every kid loves that. And we'll get probably 2 uses out of that.
Okay.
Which otherwise would have been kind of spent if you don't shave it out. Now it's not by any means a brand new barrel, but it gets we get some great flavors out of those.
And what kind of wood are those barrels made out of? The oak or?
Yeah, they're all American white oak. So that's traditionally the two main. You've got American oak and you've got French oak. They're both white oak.
Okay.
There is chestnut. You can make barrels out of chestnut. They're pretty rare. I've never seen one. I've just heard of it. And then I just came across some Colombian oak that I don't know anything about, but that was an interesting one. But I'm sure it's in the same white oak family. Just doesn't grow in the States.
And you get terrible liquor out of the plywood barrels.
Yeah. Well, I want to do like a fun one with aged over old shipping pallets that was found in the backyard, or just do some really fun recycled wood pallet steeped
sure
funk rum.
Funk rum, I like it. That's neat. So now you guys give tours and stuff of your facilities there, right?
Yeah, we do. We're going 3 times a day, 7 days a week. Oh, sorry, Sunday it's 2 times. We do it.
Okay.
The 2 and 4, not the noon tour, but yeah, noon, 2 and 4. We're open for tours.
Nice, that's very cool. I spend a lot of time in wineries here in California because as a performer, I'm always performing at wineries. That's our bread and butter gig here. But I've never been to a rum distillery, so when I'm in New Orleans, I'll have to come and visit you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great. And then there's a bunch now in the city. I think maybe 5, probably 6 now.
Oh, really?
In the city. Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep track. They're opening up all over.
Ah, crazy. And I suppose there's enough parties to keep you all in business.
Yeah. I mean, our main New Orleans is our main market, and Louisiana is our main state. We sell most of our product here in Louisiana, although we are in 11 states.
Nice. What's a good place online to keep up with what you guys are doing, where I can send everybody?
So we have a website, old&nbsp.com.
Okay.
And I do have, I'm not great, computer-wise, I don't do a bunch, but I do have an Instagram account that I post stuff from time to time. Yeah, New Orleans Rum Mike is my Instagram. You can do I get some pictures of some of the barrel stuff and, one of my dog.
Nice. You got to have a picture of the dog in there.
Yeah. Couple of things going on in there.
Excellent, very cool. Well, I will. I'll get all that linked up in the show notes, of course. Is there anything you want the audience to know about that I didn't ask you about?
Nothing comes to mind. I guess part of the big thing, or like one of the things which is amazing to me. I'm going to back up. I'm going to share a little story, which is I find kind of interesting. When you're growing up, you have kind of thoughts about what you're going to do in your life, even like when you're a teenager and college, whatever like that. Sure. Never in my life did I think I would be a distiller. Okay. Never crossed my mind. Now being Irish, that would be great. But it never crossed my mind. But one of my very early memories, I was probably maybe 6 or 7. And I went downstairs. We had a little bar set up in the cellar basement there, and I opened the door and I looked at a bottle of rum and I saw it and I was like, oh, that's delicious. And I just knew right away that I was going to love that. And it was just like a wonderful, wonderful drink. And so I tasted some and it was awful. I was like, oh, this stuff is disgusting. And I was shocked. It was like, because I knew for certain that I loved it. And whatever, fast forward, 20 years, well, not 20 years, maybe 15 years later, still wasn't I had some rum, or, whatever, Bacardi and Malibu, and it's like, it's not great. And it wasn't until, I had some of the island rums. I think it was, might have been Mount Gay or something. It's like, man, this is what I was thinking was it. And, and then I, got into, it's always been my favorite, a much preferred rum over a whiskey or anything like that.
Interesting.
Working in the distillery, I get it every week. Is something is very common. Is wow, I didn't know rum could taste like this.
Oh,
I hear it every week. Everyone that comes in a tasting room, it's like, wow, this tastes. This is the best bourbon I've ever had. Very common. So there's a whole world of rum out there that it's and it's rising fast. It's on a big upward tick.
Sure.
That it's kind of an unknown spirit. Like you can have, especially some of the sipping rums, are just wonderful. Very smooth. A lot of bouquet on the nose. And a wide array of flavor range in there.
Interesting.
I've had some stuff that's pretty close to bourbon. Where people are using like pretty fresh bourbon barrels and just some stuff that's like super fruity, banana and tobacco and really strong pineapple. You open the bottle and you can smell it from 20 feet away. So yeah, there's a whole world out there that's kind of unknown, I think, that's ready to be tapped.
Nice. I like that you finally found the rum that you liked, and your first thought was, where were you when I was 6?
Right. Well, probably not. It's a good thing that didn't happen.
Yes, I suppose so. Might have been a completely different life.
Right.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, for coming on. I really enjoyed this talk. I think it was fun. I'm glad we got a chance to do it.
Yeah, me too. This was great. This was great. I loved it.
Super. Well, I hope we can talk again soon.
All right, and be sure to come see us if you give me a heads up if you're coming to New Orleans.
I definitely shall. And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Mike Kelly of Old New Orleans Rum. And, of course, you can find them at oldneworleansrum.com. And if you notice that the ending was a little bit weird, for some reason I clicked stop in a weird place when we were recording it. And so, like I said, I don't think this interview was my best work, but Mike was very enjoyable. So I hope you enjoyed the interview anyway. And next week will be better. I will do my best for you, my listeners. Under the Crossbones is sponsored today by Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music and pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on both of their stations. Just go to pirateradiooftheTreasureCoast.com or pirateradiotc.com, and don't forget to download the apps, Pirate Radio Treasure Coast, which is the music station, and Pirate Radio Talk, which is the talk station. Yes. Hey, if you heard last week's show, you noticed that you may have heard that I'm looking to bring some folks onto the team. And what I need right now is somebody that will help me book guests for the show because I'm doing too many things and do not have time to do all of them. So I'm looking for somebody that will help me book some guests for interviews on the show. Now, are you going to make a lot of money? No. No, you're not. Why? Because I don't make a lot of money or hardly any with this show. It's a labor of love. But if you want to get involved, please email me at phil@underthecrossbones.com and we will talk and see if the connection is good. Just hit me up. If you got something else you'd like to help me with, I'm all for that too. Please do me one favor. If you don't want to work on the show, that's fine. I have a survey that would be really great if you would help me out by filling out. It's very, very short. Take you a minute and max. It's all easy questions. But what it does is it helps me decide who's listening, who you are, right? Because I haven't met you yet in most cases. And so I need to find out more about you so that I know what direction I can take the show in that would be best for you. Things like where around the country we'll do live shows and other fun stuff like that. So very easy. Go to underthecrossbones.com/survey. That's hard to say. /survey. Underthecrossbones.com/survey. And fill it out. It's like 7 questions. Take you a minute. No biggie. And I appreciate it. It helps me a whole bunch. If you have been to a cool pirate event recently, maybe you've been out to see a cool pirate band, say O'Craven or the Pirates Charles or Ailstorm or somebody, or you've been to a festival, or you've been to a cool historic site. Have you been to a cool pirate bar, something like that? I would like to hear about it, and I would like to play your trip report for everyone listening to the show. Leave me a voicemail at 408-599-2733. Tell me about your trip to wherever you went that was cool and piratey, and if it's cool, I'll play it on the show. Yep. That's our show for today, friends. Thank you once again for tuning in. Again, you can find out more about Mike Kelly and Old New Orleans Rum at oldneworleansrum.com. Be sure to catch all the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/087. And there you can check out my tour dates and click on over and hear some of my comedy music and all that kind of good stuff too. And all the information is there. And I will see you next week. Yeah? Yeah. Bye.